All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to use our names, and we are going to create a collage, a paper collage, in the style of Matisse, who was a master at making paper collages. But of course, as you can see, we are writing our name on the back. So that's on the back, that's the front. Okay, we will be using that actually as part of our art here in a minute. So keep it actually on the back because you want to be able to look at your name while you're doing this. Now I have these stencils here, and we're just going to get the stencils one at a time. So I've got my M, and I'm using Sharpie so that you can see, but you should use pencil. So I'm just going to use pencil from here on out. And you hold it nice and straight and trace it. Now see, that's a scrap, but I can still just carefully trace each letter. And see how I'm using the edge of the scrap paper instead of the middle of the scrap paper? You always want to use the edge of a scrap paper when you are doing scrap paper collages. And then the last one I need is my N. Remember, you're getting these from the supply table one at a time. And erase it before you cut out. So if you've got any lines in the middle, erase it first. And then cut out your letters nice and carefully. And we are going to save these scraps. So after you cut out your letter, be sure you save the scraps in the middle of the table in a nice scrap pile. I think I have all my letters. I'm crossing off each letter on the back of my paper here to make sure I have them. And then I'm rewriting my name so that, of course, the teacher can read it. Lay out your letters of your name, and you can have them overlap, especially if you have a long name, like 8 or more letters. You're going to have to probably overlap and have 2 rows. And if you'd like to overlap them a little bit like this, that is totally fine. Alright, so there it is. It's how I like it. I've laid it out, and I'm using glue stick. Remember to use the glue stick nicely and to cover the whole bit in glue stick. And the reason why we're using glue stick is while the glue stick is still wet and even while it's dry, it's pretty easy to peel up. So we might want to put some things under some other things and underlap and overlap later, which is why we're using glue stick, is because it is more manipulable. Now, after you've gotten your name all laid down, now's the fun part. We're going to start making the collage here. And we're going to do that by simply taking some of the scraps and creating negative spaces and positive spaces with those scraps. Alright, so see how like that orange and purple and like especially here this green that I'm using, see how the white is also a shape? We're taking these organic shapes, these no-name shapes, and we're using positive space and negative space, and we're filling it in. And we want to make sure that we don't get over the letters too much. It's totally great to go over our shapes and to overlap our shapes, but we're camouflaging our letters, not hiding them, basically. So it's not so much hiding as it's sort of camouflaging them, in that we don't want them to be completely concealed. We just want to be more of a fun way to try to find it, but still for the viewer to find your name. So as you can see, I'm just going to continue to place shapes around the name and under the name, and see how I'm going under that M, but that M is still there. That's because you want to make sure that the name can still be seen. Alright, now when you start getting into the little tiny scraps and you're overlapping on the little tiny scraps, that's when it's really going to start to pull together. So I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to fast forward a little bit faster, and you guys are going to be able to see how those little scraps are really going to make this collage come together. And after you clean up, there you go. And as you can see, the name is still visible, but it is camouflaged in the rest of the paper collage there, with lots of positive and negative spaces made with organic shapes.